Welcome back to the Holistic Speaker Training. I'm Seth Braun, and in this video, what should I do with my hands? We get this question, it may seem like a funny question at first, but it actually becomes really important. We're going to teach you first what not to do with your hands, and then we're going to get into what to do with your hands. When you're presenting, there are three postures you want to avoid. Number one, hands in the pockets. I used to think that just meant, I was being casual, being relaxed, being myself. Actually, what it communicates is that this isn't that important to me. And the power of nonverbal communication and presentation cannot be underestimated. Some people say communication 70% nonverbal. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's important. And when you have your hands in your pockets, it indicates like, well, I'm just waiting around for something a little more important. So take your hands out of your pockets. The second posture you want to avoid is hands on your hips. Now apparently this posture here indicates two things. One, a sense of arrogance, and two, a sense of stupidity. Unfortunately, it's the cover of my book. And I remember going to a speaker training with Patricia Fripp, the first woman president of the National Speakers Association. She said, in your headshots, in your images you're going to use when you're on stage, never use this position. And I just published this book like a couple weeks before, and I was looking at it, and I was looking at it again, and I was like, oh my God, what have I done? Now, this was supposed to be tongue-in-cheek. This whole cover was supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be kind of a send-up of self-help books. Unfortunately, people think that's like a serious, like, ha ha ha. But it's supposed to be funny. I should have put an S on my shirt for Seth. But it's actually got a small dragon, cartoon dragon swimming in the ocean. That should be the first indicator that the book is not too serious. However, I'm stuck with that cover because that's what I chose. You, however, now know better. Do not stand like that on stage when you're speaking. And the third posture may be obvious, but you want to avoid doing this while speaking. Now sometimes I'll do this while I'm speaking if I want to indicate for a moment a sense of comfort or containment. But if I stay like this for any length of time during my speech, it indicates that I'm disinterested, I'm aloof, I've got somewhere else I'd like to be, I'm closed off to the audience. It's okay to stand like this for a few minutes, but if you stand like this for the whole time, it's not going to be helpful for your talk. So don't do this. So what should you do with your hands? Well, the first answer is don't do anything. It's okay to have your hands hang down by your side when you speak. The next level up as you begin to practice and develop some proficiency is when you make a point, when you are explaining a situation, that you can indicate that with a hand gesture. It's also helpful to begin to, as you're speaking, you become a little more advanced, to begin to consider that the points you're making are happening in space. You can start to say the things that you don't do and the things that you do. So every time you refer to folding your hands, you gesture over here. Every time you indicate putting your hands on your hips like this, you indicate over here. Every time you remind people not to put their hands in their pockets, you indicate over here. That becomes a visual spatial recognition for hand gestures, so the audience can see and anchors in space. The other thing to do with your hands is to be expressive. When you're experiencing an emotional state, if you're experiencing happiness, to put your hands up, to use gestures with your hands to amplify the message. And if you're saying, oh, I felt so sad, to let your body language indicate that, and your hands are a natural extension of your body language. Now, the most powerful thing you can do with your hands is when you gesture like this to the audience. It indicates my hand is open, I'm gesturing towards you. It's almost impossible for the audience not to get drawn in to some extent. You'll see a lot of political leaders, a lot of highly trained professionals, they'll use this gesture. So join me in a new vision of the future, where we'll walk together into the next greatest version of our lives. When that gesture is presented, people get drawn in. So use these gestures deliberately. You can speak and address people and connect with individuals. Which brings us to our next point, video number 9, which is going to be, what do I do with my eyes? Where do I look when I'm speaking? And this is going to go right along with that gesture. But before we get to that, let's recap. What should I do with my hands when I'm speaking? Number 1, do not stand around with your hands in your pockets. You'll appear indifferent. Number 2, don't put your hands on your side like this. Apparently you look stupid and arrogant. And number 3, don't spend too much time with your hands crossed over your chest. It's an okay gesture once in a while, especially if you're indicating containment or relaxation, but don't spend the majority of your time here. And for things that you want to do, you can do nothing. You can use your hands to gesture in space when making points by anchoring the space. And you can use this powerful gesture to draw people in and variations on that to make a point and connect with your audience. Video number 9 is next. Where should I look when I'm speaking? We'll answer that then.